Hello and welcome to the Living Your Best Life webinar series presented by the Huntsman World Senior Games. This is a monthly webinar that we put together where we cover a wide variety of topics with experts from their fields over, a wide selection of topics to really help you live your best life. My name is Kyle Case, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the Chief Executive Officer of the Huntsman World Senior Games. Over the past several months, we have put together shows where we have focused in on an expert and on a specific topic. We've got an interesting show for you today because we're going to be visiting with several people who, at least in one area of their life, are living their best life. They are athletes of the Huntsman World Senior Games, and we're going to introduce them and visit with each one of them individually. We're going to throw in a mother and daughter pair, as well as a husband and wife duo, just to keep it exciting and fresh. And then at the end of this show, we're going to bring them back and have an opportunity to interact, ask them questions, and have a panel discussion with them at the end. So without any further ado, let's jump into our first guests. We're going to get started with Melissa Mcavoy, who started shooting archery 4 years ago through the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program, which is an Air Force program that rehabilitates wounded, injured, and ill airmen. She says archery has helped her heal from a head injury and PTSD. Her mother, Lynn, learned to shoot as a surprise to her daughter. And both mother and daughter competed for the very first time at the Huntsman World Senior Games this year. Melissa and Lynn, welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're glad that you could join us. So I want to get started with Melissa, first of all. Melissa, tell us a little bit about this Wounded Warrior program that you've been a part of and how archery has played in your healing.
Yes, the Air Force Wounded Warrior program is a program for people who are Air Force members that are injured, ill, or wounded, and they are offered many resiliency opportunities to try. And one of those is adaptive sports. Archery stuck with me because for the things that I needed to heal, which were my ability to concentrate, my ability to speak, my ability to count again. So as an adaptive sport, archery helped my brain recover. And it also gave me a new purpose. Prior to finding archery, after becoming injured, I was a couch potato. And I was not thriving at all. As I learned archery and other adaptive sports, it gave me a mission every day. I got to get out of the house. And it was very wonderful. And you can tell, because I can speak eloquently now, that I've recovered quite a bit.
Well, that is fantastic. Congratulations to you for taking the initiative, and what a great program that's been made available to you as a member of the armed forces, as a veteran. And I'm glad that you found it. It sounds like it's been very successful and very meaningful in your life. So congratulations on finding the thing that helped bring you forward. That's fantastic.
Yes, thank you. It brought me from not thriving to thriving.
I love it. I love it. Now I want to talk to Mom for just a minute. Lynn, you had to have watched your daughter go through what seems to be a very difficult time. I'm sure as a mom, that's not easy. But you decided, hey, I want to join in on this as well and be a part of this recovery process. And I suspect that you probably had a little fun along the way too. But tell me how you decided to jump into this archery, and then how you let your daughter know that you were involved in the same sport that she was in.
I was house sitting for 2.5 years ago, and I went out and I bought a little kid's bow and a few arrows, and she was away, and I took a couple lessons and thought I was just absolutely great. And when she came back, we went to the range and I was shooting my little kid's bow with the arrows. I wasn't very good, but I sure was having a great time. And it was just nice to be a part of what my daughter was doing.
I feel like I can relate just a little bit with you, Lynn. A few years ago as a staff experience, so we could get familiar with the sports, a number of us had the opportunity to shoot archery. And we went with our sports director, and he's an expert, a former Olympian. He was a very patient coach, and he gave us the bows and he gave us the understanding of, this is what you do and this is how you line it up and everything. And then he marched us about 10 yards away from the target. And, I pulled back and I shot, and I was not in the red circle, but I was in kind of the close circle. And I thought, I'm pretty good at this sport. Like this is something I'm really good at. And, he shot a few more times, and then he, humbly showed us where archers actually shoot from as he, stepped back to the actual distance from which they shoot. And then, of course, he shot from even much further back because he had that expertise. It was very humbling. And I realized that it takes practice for sure. So I want to ask the two of you together. Obviously, you jumped into the sport of archery. Not only have you learned how to compete in the sport, but it sounds like it's also been very healing through, what has been a difficult time. I'm curious how you found out about the Huntsman World Senior Games and decided together, hey, that's the place where we want to compete as a mother-daughter duo. Tell me about that.
I have been practicing archery so much. I practice almost every single day that I was able to make the USA archery team. And through that, I met a lot of other masters, women and men, who were talking about the senior games, in particular the Huntsman Senior Games. And so it was another exciting opportunity to go shoot. And in addition to that, I could shoot with my mother, which is very rare. So it was exciting, wonderful, thrilling. Not only did we get to shoot, we got to meet people from all over the country and the world, which was nice. Mom, do you have anything?
No, I just love the idea of being able to actually be somewhere with Melissa and being able to do the same sport as her. She's just awesome. And this was just such a wonderful opportunity for us. And we'll be back next year.
Yes, we will.
I love that. I love that. It doesn't happen all that often that we have parents and children that compete together, but every once in a while that does work out. And whenever it does, I love it. I love it because it's just, we always say that the World Senior Games in a lot of ways is a family reunion when people come together and they get a chance to interact with old friends and make new friends. And when you're able to do that as a family and with a family, it just really enhances the overall feeling. And I'm glad to hear that you had a good experience and that you'll be back. What are the events that you shoot in archery? Because I know there are different divisions and different options. What are your specialties?
Well, we both shot target, and we also did the 3D at the games.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we practice all the time.
Yes. So instead of your 10 meters, if you can imagine, we were shooting from 60 yards, 50 yards, and then 40 yards to a static target quite far away. And that was a challenge in itself. Then the next day we did something called 3D. That's where you go and shoot at foam animals from all different distances. So it's quite a challenge, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a walk through the woods or a walk along the trail, but and you just shoot at targets.
Well, I love it. The target that you described, if anybody had the opportunity to watch the Olympics this year, they did focus in on archery to some degree at the Olympics. That's the type of the style of shooting that we do in the target archery. And then the 3D archery that you're talking about, that's designed to kind of replicate the experience of archery hunting. And both require a different skill set, even though they're archery and there's overlap for sure. But they both require a different approach and a different way to do it. And again, we're so glad that you could come as a mother and daughter and as athletes and to enjoy yourself, and definitely looking forward to having you back next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our next guest. You guys don't go anywhere. there because we're going to have you back in just a moment for the questions and answers. But thank you for your example. Thank you for showing us that it can be done as a mom and daughter. And we'll be back with you in just a moment and have a question or two for you. Coming up next, we're going to go from one dynamic duo to the next. And we're going to have Cliff and Jojo Barthmann. They are 82 and 81 respectively, and they also competed for the very first time at this year's Huntsman World Senior Games. Cliff competed in several sports and Jojo competed in tennis. Welcome to Cliff and Jojo.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
We're so glad that you could join us. And we went from one example of, a family that works and plays together, and we're moving right into the next example of a husband and wife. Cliff, I want to start with you. You actually competed in a couple of different sports. Tell us, what were the sports that you did this year at the games?
Well, I did softball, which I love. I play a lot back home here in Bluffton, South Carolina. And it was just amazing meeting so many people and the camaraderie and everything. It doesn't make any difference if you make it out or you make a home run. It's so much fun. And everyone is just so positive about whatever it is. It's great.
Softball is our biggest sport, and it's one of those areas where we just see people come together, and just like what you said, it's all about fun. It's all about goodwill. Of course, everybody wants to win. That's part of the game as well. But it sounds like you had a great experience. I'm curious if you can tell us, when you came to the games, you weren't initially planning on playing softball, but you got kind of picked up at the last minute.
That's correct. My wife was playing tennis, and we went into the sports lounge, and she saw that, they're looking for softball players, 79 and over. I'm like, okay, maybe I could do that. I said, nah, maybe I shouldn't. She says, yes, you are. You're playing. So, you have to do what your wife says. So anyway, we did that. We called back home, and our daughter sent my glove to me overnight, which was amazing. I can't believe how fast they got it there. And
went to Dick's.
We went to Dick's, but that was we're not doing Dick's. That's too stiff. So we went out, and then we had a practice on a Sunday, and then Monday we had 2 games, and then Tuesday we had 1, Wednesday we had 1, Thursday we had 1. I was like, oh boy, this is unbelievable. It was absolutely fantastic.
Great.
So that was softball. Wonderful experience. Thanks for sharing that. You also actually had registered for a different sport.
I registered for the 5K run.
Okay.
And it was pretty exciting. Even though I didn't get a medal on there, I came close, but no cigar. But it was good. It was good. It was so much fun. Everyone is, no matter what you do here, it just seems like everyone is so positive and cheering everyone else on. Really nice. Really nice.
Great.
We definitely feel that just as we're out and about, interacting and managing the event and making sure that everything is in place. We definitely feel that among the athletes, and it gives us energy as a staff and as volunteers. I know they feel the same way, and we love it. We love it.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Jojo, tell us your experience. You signed up to play tennis.
Yes, I waited till I was 80 because I figured maybe then I would have a chance. Right? And I should have done it so much sooner because it was such an experience. The women were great. We hugged each other afterwards. Didn't matter who won, but I had a medal. I came with a medal, and I'm walking around the house. Where do I put it? Where do I put it? I'm so excited. So
that's wonderful.
It was better than I ever thought, better than we ever thought.
And then the doubles too.
And the doubles, yes.
Yes.
And I played, and I won a medal in that too. So it was great. A fella from St. George, Utah, Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
Called me up, and we became partners, and we're friends now. So it's a wonderful experience. Everybody should do it. Everybody. And you don't have to be an elite athlete, and I'm proof of that. So it's great.
I love that. I'm curious of the two of you, as you were, deciding to go forward and register for the games, who was the driving force? Who was the one that said, we're going to do it? Let's just make it happen.
Miss Jojo. She is the one that actually knew about the Huntsman's games, and decided we should go. Actually, she woke me up at 1 o'clock in the morning one time and she said, listen, I got this great idea. I think we should go to the Huntsman's game. I'm like, go back to sleep. Leave me alone, will you? And then, and that's the truth. And then it just went on from there and went on from there. And she looked up to see how many things we could do
that's
there.
right.
Now that we went there,
We'll do
said,
everything.
"Ooh."
Shot put, everything. That's right. But our
Yeah.
neighbors, when we came home, they had decorated the house.
Oh,
So they decorated the garage, the congratulations all over. It's just been like we feel so special.
they were welcoming home the conquering heroes, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Now, many people might look at the two of you and say, 82, 81, you guys deserve a rest. You know, what are we doing jumping into brand new events and sports? What would you say to somebody that might feel that way?
No, everything, when you do something new, you seem to get younger. You seem to come alive. I trained for 6 months for this. I had a personal trainer and a tennis coach, and it just made me stronger. It's great. You don't get older.
No, it's never too late.
No,
Never too
never,
late.
never.
I love that. I love that. That is such great advice. And congratulations to both of you for being that example that any of us can look at and
Exactly.
say, hey, you know what? If they can do it, maybe there's something there for me.
I-
We love it. We love that you came and were a part of our event this year. And congratulations on your success. And next year, you're going to need to bring the neighbors that decorated your garage with you so they can
Exactly.
experience it as well.
That's
yes,
right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to get back to you guys in just a minute as well. Thank you for, again, for your example. We've had a couple of first-year athletes, and we appreciate their experience. That's amazing. We want to focus now on some of the athletes that have a little bit more experience. And we're going to go to our next guest, who is Lonnie Neer. And she is definitely one with experience. She's competed at the Huntsman World Senior Games 20 times, 2 decades worth of competition. And this year at the games, she played racquetball and she also played softball, both of those sports. There's definitely no moss growing underneath her feet. Lonnie, welcome and congratulations on a great games.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed every minute that I've gone and played. I did catch a cold there this year, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you're recovering and back to normal soon.
Yeah.
So 2 different sports. I want to talk about the dynamics of your sports. Let's start with softball. Softball is a team sport. I have to assume, and maybe I'm assuming incorrectly, but my assumption would be that when you were a young girl, there might not have been as many opportunities for you to play softball. Was that true, or was that not your experience?
Yeah, I think it's very true, but I had 2 older brothers and we would go out and play hit and do all of that together. But there was really no competitive softball available for me until high school.
So at least you were able to play a little bit of competitive softball in high school.
A little bit, but it was like a one-day Saturday event. Well, we'll get all these high schools together and they called them play days and do a one-day deal.
Okay, so a little bit of introduction, but maybe not at the level or at the quantity that you would have preferred. So that was your experience as a youth. When did you get back into softball as a master's or as a senior athlete? When did that start back for you?
Well, I've always played softball. When I was in college, it was the same deal. There was no women's softball. I went to Rick's College in Idaho, and there was no women's softball. So we got together with some of the colleges around, and like I say, a one-day play day, and we would play. And then, so when I got into senior softball, it was I was playing racquetball in St. George, and I was playing against a lady from Oregon, and they had entered softball for the first time that year. And so it evolved to where she says, well, why don't you come and play with us, the team from Oregon? And that's how I got into senior softball.
Excellent. I love that story. And oftentimes that's how teams are built and that's how friendships are made, just in that exact way. So I did want to talk to you about your racquetball experience as well. You played racquetball this year at the games, correct?
Yes, the first time in about 6-7 years.
Okay, so you had a little bit of a break, but you came back. I'm interested in the dynamic between competing in a team sport and then also competing in an individual sport. So before you answer that, tell us a little bit about your racquetball history, how you got introduced to that sport, and then continue to play that in the senior level as well.
Sure. I started managing in a racquetball court in Springville, close to my home, and was managing it and started playing tournaments, practicing when no one was around, on the court. I'd go in and practice and practice and practice. And then there was a lot of tournaments. At the time I started, racquetball was a hot sport. And a lot of people were playing it and it was real popular.
Yeah.
And so I would run tournaments. I would enter every tournament that there was and play, and became pretty good at it.
Well, that's the way it works, right? The more we play, the more we practice, the more we experience, the more we push ourselves against tough opponents. We get a little bit better and a little bit better, and pretty soon we get to the point that we want to be. So again, I want to talk about that dynamic, your experience, your feelings about the differences between playing on a team versus just playing an individual sport where it's all on you. How would you compare those two experiences?
Man, it's night and day for me, because I do coach my softball team that goes to the Huntsman games. And I rely on those individuals for their skills and what they do. But in racquetball, I really have to just rely on the skills that I have done and what I know and what I need to do. And if I want something changed, I have to assess it and see what it is that I need to do to change personally, what shot to take. But in softball, I've got, 12 other people that I've got to convince them that they need to either change this direction, move in, move out, maybe change their stance, do this and do that. And so the dynamics with senior women, they don't always like to do what is suggested. So you have to do it in a certain way that they don't know you're telling them.
I think that if you stepped back, it's probably not only senior women that feel that way. I think some of the men might feel the same way. Certainly, we know that teenagers feel that way. So that is one of the challenges of coaching, isn't it, Lonnie?
Yep. It's been a challenge, but you know what? A lot of friendships along the way. We have played softball from the West Coast to the East Coast. And when I started playing softball in the Huntsman, there was only 6 women's teams. Now, I don't know, I don't remember how many were this year, but there was quite a few. It's grown a lot.
Our women's softball tournament has definitely grown. And of course, it's broken up into age groups and skill levels within those age groups. But we had about 100 women's softball teams total this year, which was just a highly successful event. And we're just, proud and excited to be a part of that. And Lonnie, glad that you could be a part of it. I'm wondering, I'm going to put you on the spot maybe just a little bit, but I'm wondering if you have a favorite. Do you prefer the softball team aspect, or do you prefer the individual racquetball aspect?
I prefer the softball aspect of the Huntsman Senior Games. And for this reason, my whole family plays softball. We have a family team that we do co-ed. And we even go to St. George at Christmas at the Toys for Kids tournament as a family and compete. My family did racquetball when I was at the courts, but it's an individual sport and you can involve the family in it, but there's nothing like your son chasing you around the base and telling you, run faster, mom, run faster. So we've really enjoyed it as a family, softball. And
I love that. I love that. It's such a dynamic sport and so much fun. And I love the way you've integrated your family into it as well. And again, congratulations on two great sports and some real success. We're going to bring Lonnie back at the end as well for some questions and answers. If you joined us late, be sure that you are dropping your questions in the Q&A box for us so that we can answer them at the end of the presentation. If you're joining us by Zoom, there's a Q&A button just right down there at the bottom. If you click on that, you can ask questions specifically of the athletes. We'll be happy to answer any questions about the games as well. But we'll bring everyone back on in just a moment and we can answer your questions. If you're joining us by Facebook Live, we want you to go ahead and ask your questions right there on Facebook Live in the comments sections, and we'll answer those questions as well. Our next guest is no stranger to success on the athletic field. In fact, track and field is a specialty with a special bent towards race walking. Eric Johnson is a 15-time Utah Best of State Male Amateur Athlete of the Year. He has won 37 gold medals at the Huntsman World Senior Games and a total of 45 medals here at the Games. Listen to this. He has won almost 2,200 total medals during his athletic career, which is astounding. And there is more that he has done, but in the interest of time, we'll stop right there. Eric, welcome to the show. And wow, congratulations on one incredible athletic career.
Oh, thank you so much. I sure appreciate that.
Now, you've been doing this for a while. This is something that you've been doing. You've competed at the World Senior Games for 10 years. You've competed in a lot of other events. As I mentioned, race walking is kind of your specialty, although you do other things as well. Tell us a little bit about how you got into race walking specifically as a sport.
Well, I was competing at the Utah Summer Games, and they just barely finished the 3,000 meter race walk. And I was running sprints that day because that was my specialty for, I've been doing sprints since I was 8 years old. And a friend of mine says, well, Eric, how do you race walk? Because they just barely finished the 3,000 meter race walk. So I hopped onto the track and I race walked for about 30 yards. And the guy that won the 3,000 meter race walk that day just happened to be in the area. And he says, I don't know who you are, but you have perfect form as a race walker and you really ought to do it. And I said, well, I'm a sprinter. I don't do race walking or long distance, anything.
Right.
And he says, well, you really ought to try it because you have perfect natural form at it. And so on a whim, in 2009, I started practicing race walking out at Lehigh High School, and I entered the U.S. track and field. I entered the State Games of America national championships, and I won the 1,500 meter race walk, and also the high hurdles, intermediate hurdles, and took second in the long jump and triple jump that day. So that was my first experience as a race walker in 2009 at the shortest distance you could possibly do. And since then, I've been race walking ever since, and had wonderful experiences with the Huntsman World Senior Games.
Well, thank you. And when you say race walking ever since, I know that you have been doing that and you've been having success. Talk a little bit about some of the records that you've broken. You've actually broken a few records in your time, haven't you?
Yes, I have quite a few different records from states all over the West Coast for different age brackets, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been exciting for me to test myself in different distances. I've been racing anything from the 1,500 meters all the way up to the 15,000 meters in USA track and field, and been successful in all of the above, from the shortest to the all the way up to 15,000 meters. So it's been a good experience, and it's just training yourself.
That's a pretty big gap between a 1,500 meter race versus a 15,000 meter race. Two questions. Do most race walkers cover that gap? Do most people do the shorter distances as well as the long distances, or is that something that is a little bit unique to you? And then is your preparation different for both of those events?
Yes, usually race walkers will specialize in either shorter distances or the very longest of distances. And I have just figured out how to do both. As I prepare for a very long race, 15,000 meters, I will start doing a lot more miles on the road in preparation for that, and actually get my body pretty lean in the 140s for weight as I prepare for those longer distance races. And I had the good fortune of finishing the top 6 in America in 2019 in the 15,000 meter race walk. And that's for all ages.
Wow.
Of athletes in the US down in Riverside, California. I was very excited to finish in the top 6.
That's fantastic, especially for all age groups. Eric, that's amazing. I know that you have been awarded All-American status a number of times. Take just a second and tell us what that is and how someone achieves All-American status.
Okay. To begin with, you have to join USA Track and Field, and then USA Track and Field has developed a standard for master athletes beginning with the age of 35 on up. And for all track and field events, which include race walking. And so it's been exciting for me. I have 51 All-American awards to my credit in my racing career so far. And this year alone, I've got 10 All-American awards, and anything from long distance running in all the different long distances, and also race walking. Wow.
Again, what an incredible career. I know that you travel around the nation and even around the world. Do you have a method that you use to pick which events you go to, or is it just kind of what's convenient? How do you decide which events you want to compete at?
Well, I compete in a kind of a circuit of different races. I race in the wintertime quite a bit in California, Arizona, some of your warmer states. Beginning in January, I opened my season up at the Tucson Senior Games. And from there, I just start competing in USA Track and Field, regional events, and just progress into the summer months, racing almost every week between road racing and track and field meets. So I just have fun racing almost every week. And my goal every season is to try and win 100 medals every year.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if my math is right, I think that more often than not, you achieve that goal. Is that correct?
That is true. This last year, because of COVID, a lot of the races in the spring were canceled. And so that kind of slowed me down a little bit this year. But in a full season, I can come pretty close to that. My best season ever was 156 medals in 2012. So it's possible.
Wow.
If I get a full season in.
Wow, that is incredible. Congratulations on a fantastic career. I'm wondering if you would tell us what you would say to someone who's interested in race walk.
Well, you may want to begin by competing in some power walking races where you don't have to do all the technical aspects of race walking, and kind of see how it feels for you. If you like doing the different distances, power walking races typically begin about 1,500 meters, which is just a little shy of a 4-lap race around a track. And from there, if you enjoy power walking, then you may want to work on the technical aspects of race walking and see how you do. is doing a lot of long distance training for biking and running also help you in the race walks and power walking events.
From an endurance standpoint, it helps helps the muscle memory and helps you keep going.
Yep, it sure does.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, again, Eric, congratulations on just an incredible year at the games and an incredible career. Amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. We're going to have you back in just a moment as well, so don't go too far. But we're going to bring on our last guest to join us. Wayne Barnes was introduced to the games from a personal invitation. He kind of signed up to support a friend who incidentally happens to be his fiance and director of sponsor relations for the Huntsman World Senior Games, our very own Lil Barron. Welcome, Wayne. This was your very first games. What did you think? What was your impression?
I was impressed on the immense status of the games, how big it is, how many people are there, and just what it takes to put the thing on. It was a lot bigger than anything I've ever been involved in before. So
you picked a number of sports to compete in this year. Let's tick them off. What was the first thing that you competed in this year?
First thing was golf. I've golfed 3 days the first week, and I didn't do so good, but I had a great time. Met a lot of fun people, and I've just had a riot this whole 2 weeks. I ended up enjoying it so much that I took a week off vacation, and I'll do it again next year.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I will say I'm not a golfer and I've never hit that. Like, it's just not my sport. But I love when golfers say, yeah, I went out golfing. I didn't do too good, but I had fun. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's about getting out there and just enjoying yourself.
Well, what more of a beautiful spot can you go? I mean, there's some great golf courses around and they're all beautiful, and you get out there and yes, it can be frustrating, but it's very relaxing, and sometimes you can take a little frustration out on that white ball.
There you go. There you go. And sometimes it can return it back to you. I do know that about golf for sure. So you started off with golf, had a great time. What was the next sport that you competed in this year?
Well, I competed in men's doubles bowling, and that was the only one that I thought I was going to be involved in, but there were a couple of fellows that couldn't make the games this year for one reason or another. So I picked up a mixed doubles bowling, and I also picked up team bowling, and I got 2 gold medals for the mixed doubles and the mixed team.
2 gold medals for your efforts there, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, this year was such an interesting year. We had, just because of COVID-19 and border closures and just worries about the Delta variant, all the things, all the variables that went into it. It was an interesting year. And so we did have a lot of people that had partners that couldn't come for any number of reasons. And there was a little bit of shuffling, a little more shuffling than normal. There's always a certain amount of that, but maybe a little more than normal. And so it sounds like, Wayne, you were maybe one of the beneficiaries of some of that shuffling. Did you bowl with people that you had met before, or were these new people that you bowled with?
They were all new people. And in fact, the interesting thing was the team that I bowled on was all local from St. George, but I hadn't met them before.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So talk about that just as a concept. You signed up, you're coming to do a certain thing. You get thrown a little bit of a wrinkle, and now you're bowling with strangers. What was that like?
It was a little nerve-wracking to begin with, but everybody was so wonderful, and everybody has such a great time there that it turned into a really great experience. And some of the other folks who have been on before me have talked about how wonderful the people are. They're wonderful. And St. George is a great place, and I'm certainly happy to be in the area.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And we see that happen, whether it's a softball player getting picked up and then continuing on with that team for years to come, or a tennis partner being grabbed, almost at random and then being put together. And then that friendship is formed. And it sounds like you experienced a little bit of that yourself. Now, you've talked about golf, you've talked about bowling. You actually competed in another sport as well. Talk about that one.
Well, I completed in indoor rowing. It was a relay race. It was 4 by 2,000 meters. And it was a new sport, I believe, to the games this year. So I was trying to support the new things and trying to get some involvement there. Had a great time. Once again, the team that I was on, I didn't know anyone there. There were some folks in the room on different teams that I was quite well acquainted with, and we had a great time.
So indoor rowing, as you said, Wayne, it was the first year sport for us, the first time that we've ever offered it. And I went over there a couple of times just to check it out and make sure that they were supported and had the supplies that they needed, and just to watch what this new sport looks like. It was a blast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was, first thing I did was get on there, and our team captain says, "Let me watch you row." And she says, "Oh no, you're doing it wrong." I didn't know there was a wrong way, but evidently there is. I got trained really quickly, so we did okay.
That's awesome. I love that. I went over there again, like I said, and we had different divisions, different distances. We had a 2,000 meter race, which is a significant race. And then we had a 5,000 meter race, which, you know, if you do your math, that's almost 3 miles. So if you can just imagine rowing a boat for 3 miles. And then, Wayne, the one that you competed in was the relay, as you said, where 4 team members each rowed for 500 meters to cover a 2,000 meter distance. And it was just a blast. It was fun to see. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch the transitions. You have your feet kind of in stirrups, if you will, as you're rowing. And then you got to pull them out as quick as you can after you've just sprinted 5,000 meters, or 500 meters on a rowing machine. And I'm sure your legs are feeling a little bit wobbly, but you get out of the way and get your teammate in there, and then off you go. It was just a lot of fun to watch. It looked like a blast.
Yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed it all.
Now, in addition to the sports, Wayne, you also, through association, were given an opportunity to volunteer. Talk a little bit about your volunteer experience and how that worked for you at the Huntsman World Senior Games.
Well, it was interesting because I'd never worked in a gift shop before, but I helped set up the gift shop there in the conference center, and there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. We were back there where the athlete shirts are being distributed when we come and register, and I kept looking at all these boxes and I'm thinking, what in the world are we going to do with all these? And then they told me, well, there's going to be over 10,000 of them handed out just to the athletes, just for showing up. And it's like, oh, well, this all makes sense now. But I think I hung up more shirts that day than I've ever hung up in my entire life.
I suspect you probably did. That's awesome. And Wayne, let me express appreciation. Everywhere that I went, it seemed like you were there in front of me, picking up and arranging and organizing and just doing your best to help out and be a support. And we're grateful to you and to all the volunteers that take time out of their schedules to come and help us put on the games. We estimate that it takes about 3,000 total volunteers to put on the World Senior Games, and we're grateful to each and every one of them who participate and take advantage of it. So you alluded to this already, but first year athlete, first time that you've been involved, you think you'll come back next year and do something different, or will you come back and do some of the same things that you enjoyed this year?
Well, I'll probably do some of the same things again. I'm going to volunteer again. And I was going to tell you that volunteering is just as satisfying as competing in the game, because you can see the end result and make things happen behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, whichever. But yeah, I might try something new next year. I don't know.
Well, that's the beauty of the World Senior Games, really. We have 35 different sports, and with this, everybody has talked about this and alluded to it, but with this family atmosphere and welcoming atmosphere that our athletes bring with them, it's so easy to just jump into something new, even if it's something you've never even tried before, but just think, I don't know, let's give it a try and see what happens. People will gather around you and help support you and teach you, like your rowing coach,
right,
how to do it the right way and have the most success that you can, and just to enjoy yourself there. So wonderful experience. Well, Wayne, thank you so much. Let's bring everyone back on. We have a few questions that have come in, but while they're coming back in, let me invite you who are participating once again. If you have any questions specifically for any one of our athletes in particular, or if you have questions in general, go ahead and drop those in that Q&A box. Again, there's a button right down there on the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're joining us by Facebook Live, in the comments section, you can type in your question. We've got a few that have come in, but it's not too late to get those questions in if you have any right now. Again, specific questions for athletes, those are great. We'll direct those on. If you have questions about the games in general, I'll do my best to try to answer those as well. So welcome to everyone. Welcome back to everyone. And let me express again my appreciation. Thank you all for being here. The first question that I want to ask is maybe directed to some of you first-year athletes. There's a few of you that competed for the first time. It says, I would love to compete, but I don't play any organized sports. Are there sports for beginning competitors, something that doesn't require that I haven't done it before or I haven't done it in years? Let's start with Jojo and Cliff. You guys were first-year athletes. Tell us how you would answer that question.
Bocce's a good one. Just being there at any sport, like that fella said, he didn't know how to do it before, and somebody came and showed him how to row. Anything you did, it's a lot of sports that are easy to do. It was a lot of fun. You should never miss this. Never miss it.
Cliff, anything you'd add to that?
She said it all. She always does anyway. But aside from that, and no, it's great. There's so many different things. We were looking at certain things. In fact, Jojo saw up on the bulletin board, they were looking for volleyball players. I said, Jojo, they don't want midgets. They want tall ladies. But anyway, no, you could
So many things.
So many things you could possibly do. And you can't be afraid to do them because everyone, if you join the team, everyone's so supportive. Doesn't make any difference.
I love that. And that is definitely the experience that we have had. And let me just say, our volleyball players do come in all shapes and sizes. So we've definitely got some tall ones. We've got some shorter ones as well. But that's wonderful. I want to flip that question just a little bit and ask Eric. Eric, you've probably benefited from people who have helped you along the way. You talked about this race walker that said, hey, you ought to try race walking. But as somebody who's competed, most of your life, you've probably been able to give some advice and to help somebody out along the way. So from that perspective, how would you answer this question of, I'm a little bit nervous, I don't know how to do it. Should I or shouldn't I? How would you answer that question as somebody who's been experienced and helped somebody else along the way?
Well, I just believe that trying new things is what it's all about. I try and experience new athletic events each year. I mean, I've done anything from snowshoe racing to tennis to a little bit of everything. It's just all in fun. And it's just an experience to prepare yourself for events and to try and get yourself in shape and not get discouraged. To me, just even if you get injuries, you recover from them and you keep pushing. You just keep going and you just keep doing your best is what it's all about. And ask friends, ask advice. There's so many coaching videos on YouTube and people out in the community that are more than happy to help you and give you some tips on how to do a new sport and how to experience things. And you just have to do a little bit of investigating and you'll find a way. If you want to do it, you'll find a way.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. Thanks, Eric. Lonnie, I want to ask you kind of a variation of that question too. As a softball coach, there has to be times when you're trying to recruit players just through injuries or people move away or whatever. How do you go about that and making people feel comfortable as they're coming into a new team or maybe even in some cases a brand new sport?
Well, we do experience that quite a bit because of injuries, and it helps to have teammates from one end of the country to the other. So I can call up some of the team members and say, have you got anybody? We need somebody for this particular tournament. And then when they get there, it really is not a big job getting them comfortable with the team because everybody takes them under their wing and just does it. It's not something that I have to ask anybody to do, or we have a certain thing that we do. It's just amazing that these women will just take the new person under their wing and teach them. And we try to get anybody to play that wants to come and play. If we can get them to play from the East Coast to come out to the West Coast, we encourage that so that we have a lot of players mixed in both coasts.
I love it. I love it. And that's, again, one of the beautiful aspects of the games is this ability to bring people together, regardless of geographic location or economic background or whatever it is. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. The next question is, I'm going to direct this one to Melissa and Lynn. It says, what activities besides the sports competitions do you enjoy while you're in St. George during the games? Now, I know you guys are here in an RV, and before the show started, you said you've actually been out and enjoyed some of the area. Tell us maybe one of your favorite things that you've seen so far.
We're lucky enough to go from national park to national park, and they were spectacular. Unbelievable views. But one other thing that we started doing was boondocking. We were on Highway 70, and there was a gate off into the middle of nowhere. So we pulled over on Highway 70, we drove into the public lands into the middle of nowhere, and we got to enjoy a beautiful canyon. We went looking for rocks while we were there. And we just have been having fun doing odd things, enjoying the beauty and also enjoying exploring.
I love it. I know that a lot of our athletes take full advantage of this area. There, as you said, there are national parks that are close by. Zion National Park is less than an hour away.
Yes.
Bryce Canyon is just a short trip away. And then we have any number of hiking opportunities, and mountain biking trails, and just creative businesses that are here as well that people can take advantage of while they're here. Jojo and Cliff, this was your first time out to the games. Was there anything that you guys did that stood out?
Oh, we loved the outdoor theater. We loved that. Up in Snow Canyon, we played golf. We hiked in Zion. We packed it all in, went to see Motown concert. And our favorite things, right, were the opening and closing ceremonies.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So we did so many things, and we loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys really took in a lot of the good that we have here.
Oh, yeah.
Visiting Tuacahn is certainly a favorite for many of our athletes. I'm glad that you had the opportunity to go to our opening ceremonies and our concert and celebration. Two great shows that just, again, bring people together, and just you feel the magic and the spirit of what the games are all about. So fantastic, wonderful. I've got another question here, and I'll just throw it out there, and then maybe one of you will just answer this if this resonates with you. You're all, I can tell, ambassadors to the games, but the question is, how can I help to spread the word in my community about the games? And what would any of you do to spread the word about the games and the experience that you had?
Well, I think most people feel that it's for the elite athletes only, and I think it's not about that at all. So I think don't be afraid to come, because you'll always fit in, and like you said, everybody's very supportive. So everybody should come.
Awesome, I love it. So it just sounds like just extending an invitation
Absolutely.
is the best way to go. Wayne, I know that you competed because you did receive a special invitation. How did that feel to get that invite, and what did you think about it?
Well, that was very special. Somebody, the lady that was one of the directors on bowling is on the bowling league that I actually am on. And she says, "Are you bowling this day?" And I says, "No." And she says, "Would you like to?" And I said, "Well, sure. Who am I bowling with?" She says, "Well, this lady's from Oregon. We don't really know who she is." And I didn't either, but no, it's wonderful. I mean, you meet so many great people. And as far as the ambassador program, there is an ambassador program with the games, but just to talk about the sports that you love with the people that you know in your hometown, and just to spread the experiences you have at the games, it's really special.
Absolutely, I love it. There's a continuation on this question that maybe I'm perhaps best suited to answer, although Wayne certainly alluded to it. The question is, are there flyers or something that I can put up or hand out, and how do I get them? Wayne did mention that we do have an official ambassador program, and we encourage anyone and everyone to be a part of that. It's free. There's no expense to be a part of it. But you'll just go to our website, which is seniorgames.net. And underneath the sports tab there, or excuse me, underneath the games tab, there is an option to click on ambassadors. And there's an ambassador page that just outlines the whole program, how it works and how to get involved with it. And we do send you an ambassador kit that has flyers and posters that you can put up at your rec center, senior center. One of our ambassadors this year said she loves to take it to the dentist's office. So wherever you would like to spread the word and put those flyers out, it helps, introduce people to an event that is life-changing and really makes a difference in their lives. So we encourage everyone to be a part of that. We'll just mail you out some tools, a toolkit, and then you can go right to work with becoming an official ambassador. And then even if you don't do it officially, become an official ambassador, anybody opening their mouth and spreading the word can go a long ways in not only helping the games grow, which is important to us as an event, but helping people grow, which is important to individuals. And we've certainly seen that with this panel here today. So again, thank you for your experiences. There's a couple of other questions here that I'll answer very quickly. How do I sign up to volunteer? That is the same thing. If you go to seniorgames.net, there's a volunteer tab right there. And we have just a wide variety of volunteer opportunities that are available. You can pick the one that makes the most sense to you in the area that you're most interested in, or you can pick a day and say, hey, I'm available on Wednesday afternoon. What's available for me to help out? And so it's very easy to do, and we encourage and appreciate our volunteers for sure. So seniorgames.net, check out the volunteer tab there. I will say that with the games being over, the best time to do that is more in the end of summer next year. So July, August, September, those are the best times to start thinking about volunteering for the games. And again, just express appreciation to those that do help us out there. One other question, how many total people participated in all the events this year? We actually had over 10,300 total registrations that came in, which we felt very good about, especially on a pandemic year and with all the challenges that we're facing. So we feel great. It was a very successful event. And aside from the big numbers, which that's a very big number, we had about 11,000 people that competed in the Tokyo Olympics. So we're right there, even again on a pandemic year. The big numbers are great, but as you've heard from these amazing athletes that competed in the games and participated on our panel, it really is about the individual experience. And so we invite everyone, whether you've come in the past or you are looking for your first time, to come out and share the games with us. We would love to have an impact on your life as the games have had an impact on everyone's life here. We're about out of time. We're wrapping things up. Anybody have anything else that they would share with those who have tuned in to join us today before we go?
Yes, I was very excited to see the list of all the sports. Next year, I'm going to try to invite my mountain biking club, which I currently ride an e-bike. I'm going to buy a new mountain bike, and I'm going to invite my club to come out and compete in that area. So I'm very excited to try something new and get back into another sport.
And it's as easy as that. Like Melissa said, just extending an invitation to those that you know. Wayne mentioned the same thing. That's how not only the games grow, but again, that's how we help individuals grow and help them really live their best life. So that's what it's all about. Well, let me say thank you to each of you, to Wayne, Eric, Jojo, Lonnie, and Melissa, and Cliff as well. We're so grateful that you could join us. Thanks for sharing your experience. Thanks for being a part of the Huntsman World Senior Games. And we look forward to seeing you all for many years to come. Thank you so much. And we also want to say thank you to each of you who joined us for this webinar today. As I said at the beginning, this is a monthly webinar that we do. We really try to put together programs that help you live your best life. Next month, we want to let you know that we're talking about a very important topic. It is called living with a significant diagnosis. And hopefully we can get a lot out of that, how to help ourselves as well as those that we love that might be living with a significant diagnosis. And we also want to remind you that this presentation will be available to watch again and rewatch at seniorgames.net. So it'll take us a day or two to get everything pulled together, but we would invite you to check this out. And if you enjoyed the presentation today, to go ahead and share it with your friends and family. Next month's webinar, again, titled Living with a Significant Diagnosis, will take place on Thursday, November 11th, 2021 at noon Mountain Time. And we invite you to join us then and spread the word and invite your friends as well. And until we meet again, get out there and live your best life. Thanks, everyone.